how do I earn more money?
The problem is most people aren't going for financial independence, they're going for retirement.
So what's your thought on that?
But I don't want them to just get into a trap of trading time for money.
Talk about creating income producing assets.
Well, have you ever met someone that like tried to impress you by just blabbing on about themselves forever?
Yeah.
That wasn't me, was it? Clarity and vision create the glasses to see the potential of the future.
But they don't have money to hire coaches or things like that. How do they approach that?
Just a few moments, just like be able to read a few pages. Progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect.
Okay, so then where do we start?
Where most of the value comes from is not what people expect.
The big question, I think, on most people's mind is, how do I earn more money?
People are really confused about how to earn more money because they think that money is a game of budget and cut back or work harder and sacrifice.
Yeah.
But money doesn't really care about your effort. Money cares about and follows value. And where most of the value comes from is not what people expect. They think value comes from, oh, I spent 16 hours, I out hustled. No. The value really comes from vision, the vision that's created and the words that we speak, and wealth comes from the conversations that we have, the connections that we make, how we serve those connections. And even before you have the resources, how resourceful you can become. Because if you have a vision bigger than your problems, you'll see it through. If your problems are bigger than your vision, you're in trouble and you're going to find yourself just absolutely going further into debt and despair. But there is a way out no matter where you are at on your journey. So look, if you're an entrepreneur and you watch this is going to be helpful for you to understand for your employees. If you're an entrepreneur and you're stuck, this will be essential for you to get past where you've ever been before, because it's not just about you doing more. It's actually doing more is costing you because it's not allowing the business to mature, and you're not doing necessarily the work that leads to a much higher vision that leads to a lot more prosperity.
Gotcha. Okay, so then where do we start?
Definitely the very first thing I want people to try to do is to make more money.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I don't want them to just get into a trap of trading time for money. It's what are the exponential skills, when people get really good at sales, or they get good at marketing, or they get at different, communication formats, which could be anything from, writing or video or presenting, there's all those kind of things. But like, what are the things that are going to help them make more money? Another big part of that is they learn how to hire properly, or they learn how to train others and invest in them, or, create a bigger vision, because a vision is the ultimate container in which we create value, and dollars follow value. So there's a lot we can go into to make more money, but I really look at this as an essential step, maybe step one. Then step two is, how do you keep more of the money that you make? And that's without budgeting. That's without cutting back. And then when we get to number three, it's then how do you grow your money? And I like to focus first on how can you create cash flowing investments? And the reason is I'm looking for financial independence, which is things like assets that spit off income, so that happen on a recurring revenue basis, right? Cash flow. And what happens there is now you have financial independence. And the problem is most people aren't going for financial independence, they're going for retirement. The problem with retirement is they don't learn to create cash flow, and now they get some big lump sum of money in the future, right? They've got that nest egg of money. These are eggs I'm drawing around the money. But, and then they're supposed to eventually learn how to create cash flow with that. But the problem is they weren't trained in how to do it. And then finally, the most important thing in all this is to grow yourself. What I mean by grow yourself, there's a lot to that. It's make sure that you manage and take care of your energy. It's have a high quality of life. It's continually to educate yourself in all aspects that help you to become a better human being, that you could be a steward of your resources, and this can be anything from emotional intelligence to just, growing ourselves, could be in our financial intelligence. It might be watching or listening to what's going on right here. But this is a classroom of life. And sometimes people think they're going to go to school and then that school's done and now they're into their career. To me, you're just at the starting line, and growing yourself is to the day you die. And if you do, you can create an exciting, compelling future that you want to continue to live into. I know some people get defeated because they go, oh, well, I'm getting old. And I'm like, how old are you? They're like 43. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not even like halfway through life. And it's a perspective. So part of growing ourselves is really growing our perspective and making sure that our beliefs are in check. So if we have beliefs that don't serve us, they're just not helpful because they're basically myths. There may be stories that we tell ourselves, or stories other people have said, or stories about an industry. And it's all these limiting things, which might be like, well, what I do is a little bit different. You can't do this. That's not possible. People aren't like this. And then people justify not having their best life because the words that they choose and the stories they tell actually limit that prosperity. So when I'm talking about growing ourselves, I'm talking about growing a vocabulary of prosperity. I'm talking about being able to use rhetoric. And rhetoric, rhetoric has kind of a bad reputation.
Yeah, especially now.
Right, because we have politicians that bastardize it. But what I want is rhetoric with truth and commitment, not with manipulation. Like rhetoric is speak something into existence before it actually exists. Martin Luther King, I have a dream, speaking that into existence. JFK, we want to land a man on the moon and return them safely home within this decade. That's rhetoric. It didn't happen yet, but it catalyzed and inspired people. And so I'm talking about growing yourself, I'm talking about growing your vision. I'm talking about creating a more compelling story, because sometimes people don't realize they're sitting there in this victim world writing a story. I can't do that. I don't have this. I'm not
I
won't. I'm not. It's like, it's all of these words that continue to destroy wealth, basically diminishing the possibility. When all of a sudden you realize you have the pen in your hand, right? You hold that pen. Now, we can't control all the circumstances, but what we can do is we can learn from them, and we can do what I would call recontextualize them. So I have a really good friend, and he was a mentor, Steve D'Annunzio. He always talks about recontextualization. He says, no truth exists without context being set. So if something happens to someone, one context might be victimhood.
Yeah,
the other context might be, hey, that's an ingredient for my passion. That's a lesson that I can learn. That's something that I can grow from. It's the context. So I want, learn and recontextualize. A lot of learned behavior is debilitating. It's like, oh, yeah, we always have bad luck. It never works out for me. Yeah. These kind of sentiments and statements are, they're just defeated declarations. But if we start to learn to speak, and the reason I think people are afraid of rhetoric is because what if they call their shot? What if they say something and it doesn't come to fruition?
Yeah.
Then does that make them a liar? Does that make them, bad, wrong, small? And so we often kind of limit, there's like a ceiling to what people will say based upon what they know is almost predictable and safe.
So what's your thought on that? I mean,
my thought is I think rhetoric is one of the most powerful tools because words cast spells, and language is how wealth is built. Wealth is built through conversation.
If you don't achieve it to the level that you stated, how do you go about that?
It just might be a timeline issue.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I'm not there yet.
I'm going hey, what if I'm willing to dedicate my life to have 1 million families create a legacy where they can pass on money past the third generation into perpetuity? What if that could be a catalyst and initiate that? That could be a lifetime thing. And maybe even, Weston, when I die, my books, my videos, my, people that I've influenced and helped, that they start telling other people, maybe there's ripple effects of people I never meet, never know. And maybe I'm not even around to see it happen. Yeah, but I initiate that.
Maybe the million comes after you pass away.
Right. And that's the thing is we just have, as human beings, I feel like we're terrible at timelines. We overestimate what we could do in a short period of time. We underestimate what we could do in a long period of time. I heard Tony Robbins say that once. It's that's spot on. Yeah. It's exactly, what happens for a lot of people. So, but people are afraid of that rhetoric because, I don't know how to do it. Well, part of it is not knowing. You become resourceful. You become resourceful because now you get other people's ability to chime in because they want to be inspired, and now they're excited about what you're up to. Other people donate or give their time because they want to see something come about. Money starts to follow this huge vision, this rhetoric, because people want to see it come to fruition. And so you don't have to do it alone. But some people think if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Or what if I don't know how to do it all? These kind of questions sabotage success. And what I'm saying is, well, what if you just enrolled other people to help you?
Yeah.
What if you gain the skill set over time? What if you created this new standard and you work towards that standard? When I was like, hey, I want to charge $25,000 for a speech, at the moment that I thought that, I didn't know how to deliver a speech that was worth $25,000. But then I hired Michael Port and we created a theatrical keynote, like a one-man show. And then I got Jeremy Finley to come in and he did the music to it with me. And then, you know, AJ Harper did the screenplay with me. And then, you know, Aaron, Trisha, and you did tons of the, like, you know, production and slides. And like, all of a sudden, that seems like a small amount for that type of a speech. And now that would be my minimum standard. But I had to like speak it and then got resourceful. Who could help me?
Gotcha.
This guy, Roberto, was a phenomenal speaking coach. Jonathan Sprinkles, great speaking coach. You know, Michael Port, great director and speaking coach. You know, Larry Moss, great acting coach, and Jean-Louis, great movement coach. All of a sudden, I get resourceful because I've spoken, because I've created the possibility. Then I can see those possibilities. If the possibility doesn't exist, we don't have the eyes to see it. It's like not having the glasses and being blind. And all of a sudden, when you have glasses, you can see clearly. Clarity and vision create the glasses to see the potential of the future instead of being stuck in the moment in the past. Because most people go, well, this is what I've achieved in the past, so I guess that's what I'm capable of doing. And here's what went wrong, and here's where I got screwed over, and here's where, you know, I don't trust people, and here's where it's not possible, and here's where it's too complicated, and here's where you can't, like, and all of a sudden they have all these scarcity thoughts that destroy the possibility because, again, the possibility, because it doesn't exist, they're afraid to say it. But I remember being in Vegas and I went to this event where Trump was speaking long before he was going to be president. And he was just talking about, we're going to build the most beautiful building in Las Vegas. We're going to build, you know, it's like, he's just rhetoric to the T. But guess what? They built the building and he didn't pick up a hammer. He spoke the vision. See, physical labor isn't the thing that's going to produce the highest result in value. It's the vision that produces the highest result in value. But most people discount it because we've been indoctrinated in time is money. I mean, we've heard that, right? Time is money.
All the time.
Right. But the thing is, that gets people to think about trading their time for money. And it's in effort instead of value. It's in things that often aren't scalable. Like, I was in a dispute recently because I created a very scalable system for someone. And then they were like, well, like, I have to do so much more work than you, and what you're getting paid is too much. And I was like, well, it's because you're trapped in labor. And I created something that could be automated in a system. And so this is, you know, this is where we're in an amazing world these days, because we've got so much ability to deliver to so many people in very efficient ways that used to cost so much money that's now at your fingertips with an iPhone.
If they're trying to employ other people to help them with the vision, but they don't have money to hire coaches or things like that, how do they approach that?
Well, look, okay, so I'll share my story. And, you know, I was basically, and as a kid, I went to a program called Governor's Honors Academy. And this guy, Steve Gilbert, spoke at it. And he talked about people know he's wealthy, and a lot of times they come up and they want things from him.
Yeah.
And he says, but sometimes people come up and they want to learn from me. And in order to do that, they offer support, or they'll be an intern, or like, so I just got that immediately. And I was like, okay, well, who could I learn from? So one of my professors, you know, he was just a mogul when it came to managing money before he became a professor. I befriended him. I created value for him by working out with him. And then I was able to now sit down and have time with him. You know, there was a lot of people that I just thought, how could I support them? And so even today, like, you know, when I have a friend that comes out with a book, I'll be quick to buy those books and hand them out, especially if I love the book. And then they're always like, oh, what can I do for you? And, you know, sometimes it's a connection, sometimes it's a support, but I've built a network over time, and I had to pay for that network, sometimes going to events to get there. But before I could do that, before I had the money, I just was infinitely curious, and I did the work to be able to connect with people. Like, there's so many ways to connect with people now, because if you're a big fan of someone's, you can let them know. You could be, you know, rallying support for them every time something's happening. And then it's amazing how many people I've ended up talking to just because they're good at commenting. They're good at, you know, saying something nice. They're good at like supporting, or just even buying a few books. It's like, it doesn't take a lot, but most people think it's out of reach, and so they never try. There's people in your community. There's people that you know, or that people that you know that you could definitely have a sit down with, that you could learn from, that you could talk to. But I always look at it like, imagine if you had a bank account, okay? And this bank account, you open it up, but you have no money. You don't make a deposit. And that first day you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want $1,000. What are they going to say? No, you can't have that $1,000. So relationships, think of them the same way.
Yeah.
Make a deposit. How can you make deposits? Either financial or non-financial deposits.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a testimonial you give someone that you love the work that they do. It could be that, again, that you're letting other people know about it, or, you just get their materials. I mean, it's just like, what's the thing that allows you to make a deposit in that relationship? And then if you can make that deposit, like when I met Joe Polish the first time, he just made all these deposits into our relationship account. He was like, hey, you need to meet John Butcher. He's awesome. John's someone that I've been a very close friend with, and, a financial advisor to for a long time. He's like, you need to meet Alex. Alex helped me sell 1,000 books. I mean, it was just like deposit. So when Joe's like, hey man, I'm gonna be in Utah. I'm like, hey man, I've got a place for you to stay. What can I do? Like, you just make deposits. And most people are so busy trying to take a withdrawal that the relationship bounces. It's like, it feels needy. Like, here's a good example. One time I'm speaking at this event, there's like 900 people there. It goes really well. I leave the stage and this guy runs up to me and goes, I need to raise $20 million. Can you help me?
Jeez.
I don't even know him.
That's a big ask.
It's not even what I do. And it was just like so intense. It's kind of like someone, it's like, hey, want to go on a date? It's like just way too quick, right? It's like, dude, make deposits before you make withdrawals.
Yeah.
And be resourceful. How can you be an advocate? How could you support? And you can have a conversation like, if you get a few minutes with them, like when I met Dan Sullivan, was strategic coach, met him in the bathroom. I was like, okay, I'll wait till we're done peeing to talk to him. We're washing our hands. I'm like, hey, Dan, I'm in your strategic coach program. Obviously, listen to all your stuff. Would love to get a chance to hang out and talk to you. He's like, great, come have lunch with me. Too many people are surrounding me at lunch. So I was resourceful. I just called the office. I said, hey, next time I'm in Chicago, will Dan be there? Because we were going to have lunch, but he got, there were too many people. They're like, okay, we'll schedule that. So when I get in that meeting, look, I've already learned a lot from Dan. So my intent was, how do I make a bunch of deposits? And so I was like, I've got to find out what's important to him. Very quickly, I was like, ooh, Dan really loves referrals because he loves coaching and he loves to grow this program. By the end of the meeting, I was like, what if we hosted an event just for strategic coach and we just introduced people to your program? We had 170 people there. A bunch of people signed up. I'd made so many deposits that now I had a relationship. Now I could ask questions, or if he saw me, he's going to come over and take personal time because I've added value. If you're not adding value and you're only subtracting, like, it's going to be hard to be in relationship with you or to find a mentor. And if you have money, sometimes you just make the payment and you buy into the group. If you don't have money, you get resourceful. So even when I met Joe, it was kind of at a time where, I didn't really have the 25K to join his group because I just exhausted all my accounts launching Killing Sacred Cows. So I was immediately like, well, I bet I could send Joe a bunch of referrals. Like, what could I do to help Joe out? And I did. I sent him some referrals and, they loved the group, joined the group. And then, I've actually worked to do where I made a deposit, and then it took me a minute before I can go to my next session because I had to make the rest of the payment, but I found a way there. And he gave me some credits because of the referrals I sent. So it all worked out. You don't look at just your account as what you have. You look at the resourcefulness of all your mental capital, your ideas, knowledge, wisdom, insights, strategies, and tools, and all your relationship capital. What connections can you make? Cash Cabin yesterday, I made 3 instrumental connections for them. I'm like, I'm going to introduce you to Annie. I'm going to introduce you to Mo. I'm going to introduce you to Darren. We made the connections. It's like everything that we're talking about is now going to get implemented because of those connections. And it's not like Annie, I'm for sure her biggest referrer. I get paid $0 for referring to her. It's just that she does a great job. And also, if I do need Annie's work, which is the somatic therapy, she'll prioritize it and make it happen
because of the deposits
and she's
you
worked
made.
with tons of my family. Like, it's worth it. Like, whether I get paid or not, to make those deposits. And it's not even that I'm planning on cashing in on those deposits. It's just the nature of being a value creator.
Yeah.
Create the most value that you can so that you are someone that, they're going to pick up your call. They're going to want to support you. They're going to want to be around you. And that's a really easy test, by the way, is the phone call test. If someone calls me, do I want to pick up or not? Like, if I want to pick up, I'm like, that's probably something I'm going to refer the hell out of.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy Roberto, one time he introduced me, he goes, hey, the 2 people that made the biggest difference in my life were Garrett Gunderson and Tony Robbins, and Garrett was the one that made the most difference, which was pretty cool considering what an impact Tony makes. But the reason he said that is because I've referred him hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And the reason I've referred him hundreds of people is because he's a massive value creator, always over delivering more than what he promised, always taking a personal interest. I was in South Carolina. It's like, you have to come stay at my house. Like, build deep relationships. All it takes is one mentor. All it takes is one person. You're one person or one idea away from a new level of prosperity. Hey, future Garrett here. After going through this episode, it kind of hit us that learning to build relationships through authentic deposits, well, it can be difficult. I mean, it took me years to learn. To help, the team came up with this amazing 9-question relationship currency tool. Take 2 minutes out of your day, discover key relationship motivators, and get a custom AI prompt tuned to your result for further exploration. Take your relationship building to the next level. Click the link in the pinned comment or the description and give yourself the permission to prosper.
How do you have other people help you if you don't have the money to pay people?
When I was starting out, I looked for catalysts.
Okay.
And I always look to be introduced to them by someone, not just introduce myself. Like, I was at this event, this guy James was speaking, and this, 1,000 people at the event. So I thought, I wonder who knows James. So I knew like 3 people that knew him. So I'm like, hey, will you let him know I'm here and that we should connect? So now he's having someone find me and approach me in an event of 1,000 people. If I just walk up, like, I'm just another person that wants something or asking for something. Yeah. So I want to get introduced to catalysts. Catalysts are visionaries. They're movers and shakers. They're connectors. They're great at introducing someone. They're great at positioning someone. So someone else is like, I want to meet that person. So what I would do is I would find catalysts, like, and this is how when I started my program, I just said, I'm going to find 5 catalysts and I'm just going to fully pour into them and help them out. And so I found the 5 catalysts and I said, hey, look, I'm happy to help you with a few things on your finances just because I want to show you what I can do. And I think it'll be great for our relationship and help you out. And so I just did. I just helped them out. And they're like, dude, this is amazing. I'm like, you want to tell your community about it? They're like, yeah, why don't I do an interview with you? So all of a sudden, this one guy, Patrick Gentempo, I did that. And he's like, I want to interview you. He interviews me. We just start getting phone calls into the office. Then he's like, hey, come speak at my event and speak at this next event. I just poured into him. He didn't have to pay me anything. I wanted to like add value to his life. And so it required $0 on my part. It just required some time. And then all of a sudden, he's introduced me to thousands of people over the last decade. So find a catalyst, find someone, and you could even say, hey, I'm doing something. I'd love to like be able to add value for you and get your feedback. My buddy Woody once called me. He's like, hey, I'm launching this thing. I'd love your feedback. By the time I was done with the feedback, I'm like, yeah, I'll sign up for that. That sounds great. Like, he's, it's like,
oh, gotcha.
And then, again, just add value.
But so you're saying the catalyst could introduce you to people who want to help you along that journey.
Who, if you created value for, can open the doors for you to let people know what you do. See, like, I didn't come from money. I was a coal mining kid, like, I just had to build my own network and build my own relationships. But I will tell you that when I first started out, I get it. I wasn't married. I didn't have any loans or anything. I had one, when I was 19, I bought a house. So I was, but it was cash flow neutral. Basically, I just said, I'm going to take 50% of my income and I'm going to just invest back into my education outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
And so that was the game changer. And so before I had a, substantial team or even a substantial vision, I just found great relationships and poured into them. How can I add value to them? Because I was in my early 20s when I met Dan, and Dan has the biggest entrepreneurial program on the planet. He's a freaking genius, like, just done so much good and created so much value in the world. So I was like, how am I going to get a good relationship? Well, I found his currency and I just poured in. So, I mean, like, we became very close and connected.
Any tips for finding someone's currency?
So let's think about what, currency is in the first place. Because sometimes people think currency and they think money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And money is obviously one currency, but some people's currency is actually acknowledgement.
Okay.
Especially like if I'm talking about a team member, it might be flexibility. They just want to have, like, I know some people, they just want to like be able to go to all their kids' games or be able to be there for them, and they want some flexibility. Other people might be purpose. They just they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And that really excites them. Some just might be like connection and relationships, right? They just want to get to know people. They just want to build relationships. That's where they feel the riches are. Some people, it actually just might be money. That might be like the biggest currency that they have. But the way that we figure out someone's currency is conversation. It's not like, hey, let's sit down. I'm going to figure out your currency. But you want to figure out what makes them tick. So it's like, hey, what's more important to you? Stability or upside potential? Hey, when you get acknowledgement, is that something that feels fulfilling or embarrassing? Because some people, they want to be in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
You just have a conversation and it's like casual as time goes on. And then you just get to know them. And this is the key. Just get to know people. Just ask them more questions, learn more about them. What makes them tick? What excites them? What's their biggest opportunity? What's their biggest obstacle? The more questions you ask, the more likely you're going to be connected to someone.
Gotcha. So it's really just kind of getting to know them and then trying to figure out what are those things that make them feel special or that alleviate, pain points for them.
Have you ever met someone that like tried to impress you by just blabbing on about themselves forever?
Yeah.
That wasn't me, was it?
No.
So, I mean, it's like, that's a turnoff.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wouldn't be here. If
yeah. So I always feel like it's the Stephen Covey thing.
Yeah.
Be interested more than interesting.
Yeah.
And that's how we just find out about people. Hey, if you just give a shit, if you just genuinely care about people.
And that's a big part.
Yeah. It's like, if you don't, then it's manipulation. If you do, it becomes natural.
Yeah.
And part of it is having the time to invest in someone. Because if we're too busy or we're always distracted or we can't be present or we have too many things we're saying yes to, or we're, addicted to our technology, then that's all things that disconnect us from people. I mean, I find when someone's really curious and complimentary, those ingredients is like, I usually pour into them. Like there's a guy, Jing, he's been in Multiplier since early on. And he was, even before my previous company, he'd been in the whole time. Like, I mean, when I'm in town, a lot of times just let him know because he's so grateful and he's so willing to learn and he's always attending and he's always like acknowledging and he's very real. So he'll go, it's like, man, I'm pouring into him because it's just like, I see how much he cares. Yeah. I see how much he acknowledges. I see how much he does the work, so it's like, it's very easy to be around Gene because he's not there to impress you. He's there to get to know you. Yeah. And he's to learn from you.
If I don't have enough earnings right now, I need to meet more people, meet more catalysts. And to meet more catalysts, I need to be able to, do something that adds value to their life. But I can't do something that adds value to their life because I'm so busy trying to, earn more money. So it's like, I'm kind of in this conundrum. How does a person, where does a person start?
When they look at their calendars, it tell the story of who they want to be. And what, at the end of every day, if you just did an assessment, what did I do today? And what was good? What am I glad that I did? What didn't need to be done? But I let someone distract or derail or hijack me. What was energy giving? What was energy neutral? And what was energy decreasing? And then you just start looking and go, where could I carve these things out? And then just get more intentional with your day. So if you really want to become valuable to someone, you've got to carve out time and space.
Yeah.
Right. To learn. That could be listening. You could, from the time I was ever able to drive, I had cassette tapes and CDs and I had Brian Tracy audios and, Earl Nightingale. And I listened to that because it's a way to get learning while I'm in the course of the day. Every bathroom in my house has books by anything from like Rumi to Rick Rubin to, I haven't opened it yet, but Jen Gottlieb book, like just things that like help me grow. Right. So it's just like, just a few moments, just like be able to read a few pages. Progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect. Not being overwhelmed. But like, if you don't learn how to become more valuable, like when I was starting in finance, I would read stuff about charitable trust. I'm like, this is fascinating. And it started the conversation. And I was like, I'd talk to other people about it. And then I'd learn more from them or meet some attorney that knew how to do it. But it all started because I just carved out time. When I was really at like this most stressful, hardest point financially in my life in 2008, I just was like, okay, I've got a mess to clean up. So I'd get up at 3:30 a.m. and I would go from 3:30 to about 6 a.m. and I would do study and write and, and just have this dedicated time because once the day started, it was like addressing this real estate portfolio. My business was starting to have some elements that I had to really fix. And, you know, it was like, there was a lot going on. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know that I would have all the books that I have right now. I don't know that I would have captured and cultivated all those lessons that I was in the struggle and the emotion of it. And so some people, they're going to get their biggest breakthroughs and insights in that time where they're like, man, how do I get past this place where I'm stuck, where I have it feels like no extra time, if they don't find that time to become more valuable. Because look, at 20 years old, it wasn't like I was a financial wizard. I basically learned one strategy, and I went really deep into that strategy, watching damn VHS tapes even on it, reading about it, questioning people, like getting interviews with it. And I approached a guy that managed $5 billion in bond funds, and I was able to tell him about this one strategy, and that made me 6 figures. Like, look, he knew so much about money, but I learned one thing that he hadn't dove into and dedicated just a little bit of time to it every day, and finally got the nerve to approach him. Like, it's not like you have to know everything about everything. I even feel like, look, if I met Warren Buffett, he knows more about money and, like, you know, in so many ways than I do, but there's at least 1 or 2 strategies I think that I could bring to him that he'd be like, that's an interesting take. You know, the self-insurance chapter in Killing Sacred Cows, he'd probably totally understand, but I think we could geek out on it because of Berkshire Hathaway. Like I don't have to know everything that they know or be their equal in every area. I could just find something that I'm unique with and that I have a different perspective on, and I could dive deep in that to provide that value, and then I can expand my value when more money comes in. But this notion of it takes money to make money is part of the deflating idea, or that I don't have enough time. Those are just bullshit stories that people are telling that prevent them from being resourceful, prevent them from being a value creator, and they're stuck in victimhood instead of value creation. They're stuck in selfishness instead of service. And it's the thing is, there is time, Weston, I promise you. I see how many hours people are on their phone every day with the data. I see how many hours people are on Netflix and all these things. Like, there's time. They just aren't acknowledging, like, that it takes the work to resist that. You can do things the easy way and then life gets hard, or you do things the hard way up front and life gets easy. And so it's really easy to just get busy and not handle the details. You know, sometimes they're like, go slow so you can go fast. I go fast too often. So it's nice to just take a beat and go like, hey, how do we build this properly so that the business is mature enough to be able to handle everything from the growth to the clarity to the systems to the value that we're looking to provide. Official going back to hard, easy, do the hard things and life gets easier, or the easy things, skip the workouts, always sleep in, you know, trade time for money. Life gets harder over time because you get exhausted, you face burnout, and it's just debilitating.